All right, troops, strong and conditioned on a Friday night when people are out clubbing and pubbing. Boring guys like me are sitting in the house, put their kids to bed, and just want to talk to people, namely other adults, via the medium of YouTube. So, without much further ado, I'll go straight into the questions. So, I've got a question from Wyvern the Terrible. Started doing 10 burpees every evening purely for form. Not a workout, just a drill for technique. Recommend it as a practice to throw in. This is a great idea. This is a fantastic idea and one which I implement regularly myself, namely because the reinforcement of technique is absolutely vital when it comes to performing burpees because you want to nail that movement. You want to get that movement locked down, and you don't want to use burpees purely as a exercise tool to gain a illicit response. Ultimately, you should use them as a tool to hone technique, and that's when you would use sub-maximal numbers or small microdose workouts designed to refine your technique, because technique is what most people have problems with when it comes to doing burpees. They struggle, namely with the transitions. The first transition, the last transition are two major issues for some people. I made a video about this recently, telling people how they could improve these transitions. So performing, say, 10, 20 burpees at sporadic moments throughout the day is going to be something that will enhance your ability to perform the burpee. It's not really going to affect recovery in that respect. It's going to be something that will create that muscle memory, which will allow you to just achieve that burpee flow, which is something that we don't consider when it comes to burpees, which is the burpee flow. It's when you go into that state of mind where it just becomes like a meditative endeavour, where whatever you're thinking about disappears from your mind and you just kind of get into the flow of things. You bust out 100 unbroken. Because ultimately, this is an issue that I've experienced throughout the last 2 years, where you kind of become wrapped up in the YouTube thing, where you feel that your workouts have to be recorded. So you're just kind of waiting until you have that time to record and building your workouts around that. When ultimately, when you're beginning in the burpee game, that you should be using any available minutes of downtime to fire out, say, a clip of 50, a clip of 100. Those numbers will increase as your fitness builds up over time. So definitely using those windows of opportunity to refine technique is a great strategy to become better at the burpee. Hey Lee, good to see you live. A little while ago you mentioned that you were going to do a clean bulk. Is that still your plan, or are you keeping with the lean and deadly look? That's a great question, Eric. That's something that I am doing right now as we speak. I am in the process of clean or lean bulking, whatever you wish to call it. And the process just involves establishing my maintenance calories throughout the day and adding 100 to 200 calories on top and trying to achieve 0.25 of a pound of growth per week, so that I'm probably hitting a pound of weight gain on a monthly basis, to get that slow and steady approach. Because I've tried bulking throughout the years and I tend to find that you kind of just go crazy, and when you don't control the calories coming in, the fat gain is just exponential, and it's just something that you can't avoid. I think I seen a video recently, a Jeff Nippard video, where he was explaining the calorie surplus when you're doing a lean bulk or a bulk of any sorts, and the muscle gain will always remain throughout, but the fat gain will increase in relation to the actual surplus. So if you've got a low surplus, you're going to have muscle gain and minimal fat gain. You're always going to get fat gain, but at the same time, if you like overshoot those calories, you're going in at like 600, 700, up to 1,000 calories. That muscle gain will probably be a tiny bit bigger, but the fat gain just goes through the roof. So what I'm planning to do is I don't want to keep the lean and deadly look, which is a great description. I wish to bulk up because I'm hitting 45, and I know the window of opportunity for muscle building is diminishing as I age. So I've always had this vision in my head of going on that one last bulk, because a bulk is exciting. It's an exciting process. Well, it is initially. And you've actually led me on to a stream of thought that's been going through my mind recently with regards to cutting and bulking. And with cutting and bulking, people fear the cutting process and they embrace the bulking process. But the bulking process is far more difficult than the cutting process. And I'll explain that. When you go on a cut, you just have to maintain what you have already built. You don't need that many resources. You just have to stop eating as much food. You have to achieve that calorie deficit, and you just need to train to maintain the muscle that you've built and the conditioning that you have also built throughout your training history. And that's it. You don't have to think too much about it. The only thing you have to fear is hunger itself, which is what people can't get their head around. But there needs to be that mindset shift when you cut, so that when you are hungry, you need to think to yourself, I'm burning fat here. Like I am owning this. I am owning this process. However, when we flip that round to bulking, then it becomes insanely difficult. And I'll tell you why. Because you've got so many factors that come into play. Number one is your eating volume increases exponentially. So say on a cut you were just eating 3-4 meals a day. On a bulk, you're starting to eat 5 or 6 meals a day, and you're really having to get those calories in the bank, so to speak. And what happens there is you actually become hungrier throughout a bulk, because, and this is just my opinion, but your body becomes attuned to eating at certain times and starts firing out that ghrelin. So you start going through these, like every 2 hours, the belly starts rumbling. So you start to feel really hungry. Whereas when you're cutting, you start to master hunger. You've also got to train a lot harder because you're trying to grow muscle, particularly when you're doing gym work. When you're cutting, you're just trying to maintain, so you can just get adequate low volume and just keep the intensity quite high. But when you are bulking, you need to start training with double the intensity. You need to start going like an absolute animal at that point. And you need to start firing more resources into the process. But you also have to mitigate fat gain, and that becomes another stressful factor. So the calories have to be super tight. Super tight. With a cut, you can play loose and fancy free, because if you're going extreme, you can have a big window of opportunity to work within. But with a bulk, it has to be super tight because you are trying to put on as much muscle as possible and less fat as possible. So bulking is 10 times harder than cutting. So to answer your question, I'm on a bulk rate, and I'm not looking to stay with a lean and deadly look, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens over time. Okay, doke. So I've had a lot of questions fired in here. Patrick Kyle, is it okay to do burpees every day, or do you take rest days every week? I take one rest day a week because I know I should. Like there's no point sugarcoating it. If I could train 7 days a week, I would. But I've got to devote a day to my family where I don't train. I don't have that stress of thinking I need to train at the end of the night. I need to film a YouTube video. I need to hit the gym at some point. You need to have that day to de-stress in that respect. Burpees are good because they're accessible, but you need to have that day to just unplug and just take the training away. So physically, you can train every day. Physically, I believe that. I know that Porry Jotes, who's just came in, would disagree. Hello, Porry Jotes. However, I believe you can train physically every single day, and that's something I promote in some respects, because I think you should be doing activities every day. not particularly training hard, but some form of physical activity. However, ultimately, you do need to take that day to decompress from the training process, because when you train like guys like me and all you other guys, training's a stressful job. Like having to fit training sessions and fit it into a busy life, it's super stressful, and it's also ties in with the anxiety that gets created through missing things that you've done for so many years. So in answer to your actual question, yes, it's okay to do burpees every day, but I would recommend taking one rest day at least just to decompress from the process. Okay, John Longstaff. Hi Lee, do you keep a log of your burpees workout? Nope, I do not. I don't really see burpees in a progressive overload context. I just see burpees as something that gets smashed out however you're feeling at any given moment, using them as a conditioning tool ultimately. And I'm in total agreement with Emivas in this, where conditioning is something that's chaotic. It's hard to plan conditioning, and sometimes maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should just allot blocks of time to the training session and just see what you can do in that time frame and whatever suits your current goals at that point in time. So if you're going for the more endurance style burpee sessions, long sessions, 60-minute plus, whatever. Me, I personally prefer the 20-minute, 30-minute time block sessions, which are more intense. I don't plan them. I plan them 5 minutes prior to the session. Porry Jotes. Hello, my friend. Hello, Porry Jotes. Good to see you here. Okay, Fred. Classic name, Fred. Hey, Lee, what are your thoughts on grams of protein intake per pound of body weight? Well, I use Macro Factor, which does all that for me. And this is a good question, actually, because it's something that's been annoying me recently. Macro Factor for me, I'm currently sitting at 147 pounds, 146 pounds, and my protein recommendation is 150 pounds. And I am wildly overshooting that. I'm easily consuming 200 grams, 205, 210 grams of protein on a daily basis, and I do not take any supplements. So protein is the macronutrient that is the easiest to overshoot if you know what you're doing, if you're eating enough protein. I get my protein from lentils, from beans, meat, yogurt, milk, and eating those things on a daily basis just causes your protein levels to go sky high. And I'm kind of getting worried about protein intake to a certain degree, because I was listening to a podcast with Joe DeFranco, and he was saying that when he shoots, he was getting blood tests done, and it was showing some signs when he was getting his blood work done with regards to his kidney and his liver profile. And it kind of got me thinking, is a high protein diet beneficial? I do it in the context that I'm trying to build muscle, so I overlook the health aspects or the health implications of too much protein. I don't know. I know that there's probably studies out there that suggest otherwise, but it just got me thinking in that respect. So that's my thoughts on protein. My thoughts on protein are just, it's easy to get your protein quota, and if you're eating enough meat, if you're eating lentils are great. Black beans, you can buy these things easy in wee microwavable bags. They are fantastic for getting your protein levels up, as is milk, things like that, just as long as you're not overshooting your calories wildly. Okay, David Jones, my favourite David Jones, my thumbnail fan. Just a quick hello, Lee. Thank you for a great content every week. All the best and keep up the great work. You deserve it, matey. Thank you very much, David. My favourite Welshman at the moment. I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute joy recently putting out content. Kind of try to change my direction with content. Trying to kind of move away from the routines a little bit from which I'm known, because I tend to find that they're not, people like to see the routines, but they don't hit the analytics sweet spot on YouTube, whereas the other videos, which are more educational in tone, do a lot better. So there's clues there. I'll always put up a routine, but putting 5 routines up a week, 4 routines up a week, I think that's going to slowly diminish over time. And I'm going to try and turn my energies into something a bit more educational with regards to fitness. Porridge oats. I do agree that cutting is easier. Just eat less and stay hungry and try force feeding yourself. Absolutely, porridge oats. You're absolutely right. Bulking is far more difficult than cutting. The problem with cutting is it's a mental game for a lot of people. People fear hunger. They fear that rumbling in the belly. They panic when they're hungry, and no one knows hunger. And like in Britain, for example, I mean, I could say, "Oh, I'm starving here," but there's like a Subway, like literally 5 minutes down the road from me. There's a McDonald's. There's a Greggs. There's food waiting to be eaten. So even though I'm hungry and I'm starving, I'm nowhere near it. I've never experienced it in my lifetime. So it's just a mental game. And once you like I said before, once you make that mindset shift and start to think that when you are getting that sensation in the belly and you're trying to lose weight, then you're winning the game. You're winning the game at that point. Richard Driver. Hi Lee, I managed to hit that 106 count, but it's quite slow with rests between sets of 10. Should I just keep going out with this and wait for improvements or swap in other workouts? Lee, I managed to hit 106 counts. What I would suggest, Richard, is just keep doing what you're doing. Don't overthink it. Don't be looking for like big leaps of progress. It's a slow and steady game. And this is something I always refer to, like, is you don't get caught up in the intoxication of big numbers. I made that mistake, and it was at the expense of my technique. People will look at my technique now and they'll compliment it, but it took me such a long time to get that technique. If you look at my older videos, you will see my technique was sloppy. It was so sloppy. I looked like I was having sex with a barber's floor, to put it bluntly. The depth of push-up was really bad. So do not become demotivated by like rest times or how long it's taking you to perform your 100. Focus on metrics like technique, recovery times, starting to adjust recovery times throughout the weeks, having those like variables that you can actually tweak, that you can control. Focus in on them. And over time, your body will just accumulate the volume. It will acclimatize itself to the workload, the stress you're placing on it, and then that breakthrough will happen. Now and again, throw on a test just to see if things are moving in the right direction, if the needle's moving in the right direction. However, just persevere. Technique is everything, because ultimately it all comes down to rep quality, and that's something that translates like in for burpees, weightlifting. People are always looking for the magic program. Should I do 10 sets off? Should I do 5 sets off? No, you should look at rep quality. That is the first metric that you should consider when you are doing anything like this. How are your reps? Are you getting down to a nice depth? Are you performing strong style burpees, for example? Are you really like accentuating those points of contact? These are the things that should be your priority, because if you're getting better at those small details, you'll be getting at the burpee overall, and that breakthrough will come. So just persevere. It's your game. You're not competing against anybody. You're just doing your burpees, and you will hit that moment where it just all kicks into place. Just take your time, buddy. Take your time. Vice script. All right, man. Am I cheating by listening to music when doing high rep burpees? No, you're not cheating, right? You're not cheating in the grand scheme of things, but I think you're cheating, right? Because you want to make it a boring process. No, this is just a personal opinion. When I go running, or when I used to go running, I used to intentionally leave my phone in the house. I didn't have any access to music. I just wanted to run and just make sure I wasn't listening to anything, because I'm a big believer in trying to keep training crutch free. Not having things that help you get through the training process, because you're always going to come up in a situation where you don't have these things. And then what? It's like guys who walk into the gym and they use that pad for squats. I don't know what the pad's called. I'm sure old Natty's got a name for it. But they use that pad on their back, and you go into a gym and they don't have that pad. And it's like, oh no, I can't do my squats because that pad's not there. That pad was like the thing that allowed you to perform something. So you want to have minimal motivational tools or comfort blankets when it comes to hard training. But if you want to listen to music, go for it. Nobody's judging you. Old Natty. Old Natty. My favourite Old Natty. My most favoured Old Natty in the world. Old Natty burpees. Burpee as mantra. Okay, burpee as mantra. Yeah, that's a mantra that we all perform, like Buddhists, burpee Buddhists throughout the world. We use the mantra of the burpee. I can only imagine what your mantra's like when you're doing the complex routines, mate. Stay true. No vice grip, anything that helps you grind your hips and keep doing it. Okay, don't be purist. 200 gram of protein isn't really high. Yeah, you're right. It's not really high. Like if you're 200 pounds and that's what you've got to eat to accommodate your lean mass, but it is high for most people because I think that the recommended guidelines are around 70 grams, 80 grams. Like I said, lots of people struggle to get a protein in for some reason. I find that crazy, but I've been training for years. I've developed nutritional strategies to allow me to get protein in. So it's purely individual. But 200 gram of protein, yeah, I would say that's quite high. I would definitely say that's quite high. It's something that I don't like when I hit the 200 mark because I'm only 5'7". I weigh 147 pounds at this point. So what is my body doing with that protein? It's not storing it. So it's like a waste. I could be putting it towards the carbs, filling those muscles out with glycogen, fueling performance. And I'm developing strategies for that. Watch a guy called Faz Lifts on YouTube. Faz Lifts is like a bodybuilding channel. You would really enjoy it. The guy's a goldmine of information. Okay, Haley, what's your thoughts on alcohol? I don't drink alcohol. I've not drank in about 3 or 4 years. I don't like it. It's not for me. I don't like that. My lifestyle does not allow me to drink in the sense where, have you ever had a hangover and tried to run after toddlers? It's possibly one of the most torturous experiences that a man will ever go through. And that put me off drinking for a long time. I think the last time I had a drink, I went a night out with some friends that I hadn't seen in a few years, and I was hungover for 5 days. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. I don't have a tolerance, and there's no benefits to be gained from alcohol because I don't go out, I don't party anymore. It's not me. I like to stay at home with my family. I'm a family man. I don't need drink. Burpees are my drink. Burpee Bandit, the legendary Burpee Bandit. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. Any thoughts on doing the stomach strike with a medicine ball? Yeah, I think that's absolutely crazy. I think that's pointless. Because, like, what do you do with the medicine ball once you've done the stomach strike? Do you drop it and kick it out of the way to go into a burpee? Although I have a friend who, like, always used to joke that he claimed he got his 6-pack by hitting his abs with a medicine ball, and he's convinced he just destroyed fat cells in his stomach by blasting them with a medicine ball. So I definitely wouldn't be going near a medicine ball if I was doing burpees. What was your favourite routine when starting out? That's a great question. That is a great question. That's a difficult question, actually. I didn't have a favourite routine. My mode was basically doing 100 burpees every day and then moving up to 125. However, a game changer for me, there was 2 moments of clarity that happened to me. The one was the first ever Iron Wolf routine that I attempted when I just discovered the Iron Wolf, and it was a time saver workout he did where he would, the first 5 minutes was 1 pumps with a squat chaser, The second 5 minutes was 2 pump, and every 5 minutes you would go up a pump until you'd completed 30 minutes of the workout. So it ended with 6 pumps with 6 squat chasers, and I couldn't complete it. I couldn't complete it at all, and it was kind of it was a that was definitely a moment where I thought, right, this is pretty insane. I need to train hard for this. I definitely need to train hard for this. The second one that was a game changer was the first ever challenge that he put out when I discovered him, which was doing 300 burpees a day, which I did. I never done the running aspect of it. I did the chin-ups, and that raised the game for me exponentially, big time. So that was definitely probably the routines that lit the fire. Okie doke, right. Drew, thanks, mate. Thank you very much, CV. Absolutely appreciate that. Have you trained self-defense of any kind? When I was younger, I went to karate, I went to Thai boxing, but the last time I went to Thai boxing was when I was in my early 20s, and I went with a friend, and we kind of fell away from it, and it was just something I never took up again. Although I stayed in a part of Glasgow. I used to share a flat with a guy in the south side of Glasgow. And one week I thought, I'm going to try this like martial arts place. And they put a different martial art on every night. There was like MMA, judo. And I went to a wrestling night, and it was probably one of the most brutal experiences of my life. I never realised how painful wrestling was, particularly the older you are. It was absolute torture. How the hell did you grow such a great beard? Patience. That's the best beard growing tip I can give anybody, is just have patience. People don't have patience when it comes to beards. They sit and go, oh, my beard's patchy, oh no, there's a bit missing. Just let it grow. Forget about life and just let the beard grow. Very astute comments on bulks. Thank you very much. A true bulk done right is exponentially harder than a cut. Couldn't agree more, but you young guys have no clue and aren't open to learning. I mean, once again, the quality, the quality of Old Natty. I'm going to have to get Old Natty on a podcast at some point and pick his brain, because the guy is a wealth of knowledge, but he delivers it. He delivers it like it's like being attacked with a rusty spike embedded baseball bat. That's the Old Natty style. Nobody in any industrialised society knows hunger. Absolutely agree, Old Natty. Absolutely agree. How did you manage to lose weight all while feeding and eating with your kids and wife? Do you all eat the same thing, or have you had to prepare and eat food different from your family? Well, and actually, that's a really good question, and this is something that I sympathise with, like people who wish to take this road, David, because I am kind of like, my life is fortunate in respect where, like, me and my wife work shifts, so I take a lot of my food to work with me. So one week I'll be working back shift and my kids are at nursery, and I'm at work all day, and then some days, like, my wife's at work at night and I've got the kids at night. So the only time me and my wife get to eat together is at the weekends. And we like to partake in things, like we like to get a Chinese, we've got a kind of wee rituals, and that's what I do. And I accommodated those things into my schedule with extra burpees. Because also, when we talk about the cutting process, like, my workload was insane. Like, I was doing 2 burpee sessions a day, 1 burpee session a day, on top of weights. So my expenditure was through the roof. Macro Factor calculated my initial expenditure at 3,400 calories, which I thought was quite high. So yeah, we eat the same thing sometimes, but because of shift work in our respective fields, it means it's sort of like I get to eat what I want and my wife eats what she wants. So we don't have that synergy in that respect. Okay, doke. From South Africa, thank you to you, Professor, for my 100 burpees to today's challenge. What to say? God bless her. Thank you very much, Jackie, as well. Still, I really appreciate that. It's always an honour to know that you're. I don't want to say inspiring because I'm Scottish and I always get quite embarrassed thinking like that. I'm sure some Scottish or British people know where I'm coming from in that respect. We're very reserved when it comes to these sort of things. Well, we don't like to think, we don't like getting complimented. But yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much, really appreciate it. Cheers, new to the channel. What are your thoughts on a Tabata style workout with burpees? Go for it. Go for it. It's your workout. I don't like the phrase Tabata. I've probably used it in a video or something to get clicks. But I think Tabata is like this bastardized protocol. I think the original Tabata was performed with elite ice skaters or skiers, and they were putting mattresses, vomiting at the end. They were going at 150% past their VO2 max, and then you get people in a class doing Tabata butt clenches and things like that. So I think high intensity, I would just call it high intensity. It's just time and rest. That's all it is. And burpees, to the untrained, they're probably going to take them to that level. But once you've trained high in burpees, then you're going to have to do something with the burpee to get your heart rate up that high. Definitely. Like for example, when I did 500 unbroken there, it took me about 30 minutes to get my heart rate above 150 because I was going at such a good slow pace. The more burpees you do, the more conditioned you become, the harder it is to get your heart rate up there. I followed, love the podcast. We guys had them on. Thanks very much, John. Yes, it is a killer routine. Oh, nah, quality over quantity in all things in life. Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. So, as much as old Natty's comments are quite acidic, I tend to find myself agreeing with most of them. His delivery's his delivery's something else, but the message is always good. Vice Grip, Lee will always be this epic beard man now. Well, thanks very much, Vice Grip. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So anyway, I'm going to go now because my dog's starting to get a bit rambunctious, and yeah, I've had fun. The reason I did this live was because I got a new microphone. It's under my beard there. You can see it. So I wanted to test it out because I'm trying to make things a bit better content wise. I've got a few things in mind, a few ideas, and I kind of want to take things somewhere. But there's going to be a big announcement soon. I don't want to say too much, but there's something in the pipeline. There's a couple of things in the pipeline right now, but there's definitely one going to be happening in the next week or two. We're just kind of trying to fine tune a few things. That's all I can say at this point. But keep your eyes peeled, guys. Anyway, Vice Grip, thanks for this. I appreciate all that you do. Thanks very much, Vice Grip. I really appreciate your comments, brother. They are greatly appreciated. Very humbled. Which I wonder what the neon green. I know it's a new mic, mate. It's a new mic. Anyway, listen, thanks very much for watching, guys. I appreciate the back and forth. The questions were great. Even old Natties were great. So have a nice weekend, guys. Happy Easter.